So what actually is karma? And how can my actions be inspired by a deeper understanding and recognition actually of what I am as consciousness? And the Yogasutra actually, like many of the ancient yogic scriptures, talks a lot about karma. Not just here in the second chapter, but also later in the chapter in which it is about liberation. That what kind of karma basically has to be played out. And the karma that is accumulated comes from all these lifetimes in which you have identified as this body-mind, as this person, and have accumulated karma, meaning all these different kleshas, these different afflictions that you have that come out of this fundamental misperception of the self, misperception of what you are essentially. And it leads to all these afflictions that come from this egotism, this fundamental feeling to be a separate entity. And then all other people, events, circumstances are somehow also separate from you. And how the separate self is continuously trying to then maneuver itself through this life from this fundamental understanding. I'm separate to you, I'm separate from the world, I'm separate from my circumstances. And so how can I deal with the circumstances then? How can I deal with other people from this fundamental perception of myself to be this somehow inside this mind body? Now how karma comes into play, karma comes from kru. It means the source of it comes from the root kru. It just means action. But when you come from a recognition of what you are as awareness, when you start there, instead of starting as the separate self and perceiving everything through sense perception that then is interpreted by the mind, if you actually reverse the whole process and you come already from knowing yourself as consciousness, knowing yourself as awareness, what happens? What happens experientially? What can you actually experientially come to see when you start witnessing thoughts, when you start witnessing perceptions, when you start witnessing sensations? And what is like this utmost opening is to literally see how the world comes into being inside of you as awareness. There is no one else here. On that level, all arises within you as awareness. And so karma, what comes from this continuous perception of the separate self, what it actually is you are operating within yourself. Yeah? You are continuously imagining so-called others so that you can experience what you wanted to experience, so that you can grow and so that you can enjoy also. Enjoy experience. Enjoy these kind of experiences. Now you might not enjoy your current experience of life or your current circumstances, but from a more detached view, all these kind of circumstances, all these kind of actions and what comes out of it is actually enjoyed by a deeper deeper essence, is enjoyed as the play of creation, is enjoyed as the play of manifestation. It is similar to a movie. Imagine you'd be watching a movie that was only positive from the beginning of the movie till the end. Now, some of us that have that huge propensity for this kind of beautiful manifestation might enjoy it, but the most people and most of us would actually say, hey, I want some challenge in the movie. I want something that the hero needs to grow from. I need some form of learning. I need some form of interesting kind of storyline with lots of turns and lots of growing experiences that I can actually then also identify with. And so it is similar. It is similar because the sutra says that the karma that comes out from these kind of kleshas, these kind of likings and dislikings, egotism, and one of the biggest ones, obviously, in everyone's life is fear. Like, I'm not doing things because of fear of death ultimately, but also just how many of your decisions are based on fear, a fear that is actually just in the mind, like a projected fear. If I don't do this, if I do this, like what is actually coming from the deepest space? The deepest space is always guided by stillness, but also guided by this expansion and this joy, like a quiet joy, a peaceful joy. You're at peace with what you're deciding. You're at peace. You feel extremely aligned in your life. These are the moments where you feel extremely aligned to your life flow. And the interesting thing is, exactly as if you were watching this movie, that Patanjali says all actions that are rooted in these afflictions, these kleshas, these things that come out from this notion I am somehow separate, that they will have consequences, karma, in this life or others. That's why sometimes some stuff happens to you in life, you have actually no clue. It doesn't seem to be actually connected to this life. Why is this happening? There's a very different understanding in all Eastern countries and cultures than in the West. In the East, there's an opening towards that this is then somehow a karmic kind of consequence that you have to endure. And he says in this sutra that it will manifest in this life, and it will manifest in another life, either directly or indirectly, until it is known to you. That's also very interesting, and that's also very interesting for all of you that are on this spiritual awakening journey, or that are actually really on a self-realization journey, you can say, even though it's not really a journey, but that are opening themselves to being awareness, that are starting to witness, that are starting to find the space of I am. And what happens then is automatically, because you are awareness, first sign sort of, as you abide more consistently in awareness or the space of I am, one of the first signs is you become much more aware and stuff starts to accelerate. There's a lot of stuff coming out usually for people. Stuff that they have not been aware, stuff that has been unconscious, stuff that is hindering them, stuff that they didn't even know. And there's a quickening. So this karmic ripening, there's a karmic quickening because you are starting to be sincerely on a journey of enlightenment, a journey of realizing what you are. For that, a lot of the stuff has to be seen. And oftentimes these patterns, like deep ingrained patterns, why is this happening to me? Or why am I continuously attracting this kind of situation or this kind of circumstance or these kind of people? There is always a learning in it. And there also always has to come like a deep inner recognition. Outside people can tell you 1,000 times this and that and this and that. It might not actually really land. What lands for you is only when there is this deep recognition, this deep revelation, this deep insight from inside yourself. And so he says that all these actions that are rooted in the separate self and these kind of actions that come from that, especially fear, will manifest either in this life or others until they are known to itself, until they have been completely understood, completely seen, completely realized. And oftentimes, because, again, you are actually talking about a unified manifestation. That manifestation that arises from consciousness, which is what you are, so it actually arises from you, is whole in itself. And so oftentimes these kind of, this whole notion of separation is also something that starts to crumble, and it starts to tumble in your experience and also in your realization, as oftentimes that you get these direct mirrors that anyways from that ultimate understanding you're generating all these other people as potential timelines of yourself and as mirrors and as reflection points of you, for your growth, for your learning. But oftentimes they come in and they reflect to you. They are actually mirrors of you, mirrors for certain patterns, mirrors for certain ideas you have. Some of your worst experiences, some of your worst enemies, some of the people that are really challenging for you, they might actually help you tremendously, we say, as teachers. But what do they teach you? They teach you the kind of roles you have identified with, the kind of behaviors, the kind of belief structures, the kind of ideas you actually have identified with. And so they help you tremendously in seeing this or that you have identified with. Now, what comes out of realization, what comes out of a deep recognition of yourself is, again, because manifestation, that means life emerges from you. Your life emerges from you. There's no one else there that it emerges from, and there's no one else there to blame or to anything. It is actually emerging from you, for you, and as you. And these are distinct markers that can be recognized, that can be realized, and that can be actually also experienced. But what it also means is to open yourself to life as it is, not as you as the person would like it to be, but exactly as it is, as it unfolds, whatever manifests, can you open yourself to that, knowing it comes from you? And there's a tremendous, if you can open yourself to this present moment as it shows up, keep your heart open, keep your mind open, keep yourself open, saying this is generated by me, not the small me, the great me, for something. And also to know it is not just generated for your separate self, but also for all these seemingly other people that are somehow emerging also from you. And so this also, it forms one picture. It's for everyone's benefit, everyone's learning. And it's always to open yourself back up. Open yourself back up to this present moment as it is, knowing it is the best for you. And it is also in the best interest of everyone else, exactly as it is. And to reduce these actions that come from this separate self, especially these, I only want to experience what I like, not what I don't like, and what comes out of fear, to be very mindful. What kind of actions am I actually choosing right now? Am I choosing from a deeper place that knows that all is emerging from me? Am I choosing from a place of stillness, or am I just choosing from reactivity, from fears, from a fear of losing, from a hope for winning, from a fundamental fear that I have, fundamental aversion that I have? Can I step beyond that? And these are the ways how also you purify your mind. And by God, maybe you purify lifetimes if you have that chance to actually pause before you act, pause before you decide, pause before you make a choice. And then actually start to come back to yourself. Start to come back to the space of I am. Start to come back to stillness. Start to come back to what isn't entangled, what isn't enmeshed, what is already at peace with whatever is. And then more of your actions, let them come out of that, and less of these separate self actions that are mostly based on reacting towards perception. I perceive something, whatever is perceived gets interpreted in a positive for me, negative for me, and then the whole reactive scheme happens. So this is the sutra on karma that comes out of these kind of afflictions, and that will actually really manifest itself until there is this deep insight, and this deep insight also to no longer continue in a certain way, to see its unhelpfulness. It gets reflected in so many ways to you, and until there is this deep inner realization, what you couldn't see before about your action, but ultimately you couldn't see what you actually are.